Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scribo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. So it's been a long time since I've pulled cards on anything. And so I thought I would pull cards on this coming Tuesday in Miami. President Trump is scheduled to um, go into the federal courthouse, I guess, there in Miami. And show up for the reading of the indictments against him. I think that's the procedure. Excuse me if I don't know what the procedure is. Not a lawyer. I've never really wanted to be a lawyer and probably know more about law than I've ever imagined I would at this point in my life. Thanks to thanks to some pretty cool people on YouTube, including Glenn Kirshner and the Midas Touch Network and other pretty cool lawyers that are, I'm learning about law. Luckily, not because I'm in court. This is the way to learn, right? Watching other people. But of course, we're concerned. There seems to be some dog whistles that Trump is blowing, as we would expect. In his home state, right? It's his home state, in DeSantis's home state of Florida. And, Miami, right at the very, very tip of Florida. So I thought what I would do is we would take a look at if anything is going to happen besides what is scheduled to happen on Tuesday in Miami. So this is a reading for Tuesday in Miami. Okay, so we have the Prince of Swords here. This card is the King of Swords in other decks. And what this says to me, I would see this as Jack Smith, because the King of Swords holds the sword of justice, right? And then we see that he has his, I guess we could call them minions here. I don't know if he would call them minions, underlings, people. There seems to be three sort of directions, or three separate sections that his now there are 8 indictments and 37 counts or 38 counts. So but I think there are three major sort of ways that he's moving forward. Plus, this says to me that he's running a very, very tight ship. So let's see what the challenge is to that. Money, maybe dark money in the case of the Three of Pentacles, or sort of the wheels, how money influences things. So let's see what's underneath it. Okay, the universe, right? The end of a cycle. So this is indicating perhaps the end of Trump, or the end of this particular, it could also be the end of this particular part of his what he's looking at. Now, it's very possible. I know that I think Marianne was talking about that Jack Smith may also look at going into mail fraud as well. So we could have the documents here. We could have January 6th, and then there's the mail fraud part. So there can be three parts to that. And then the challenge is getting it all done correctly, so that he can be held accountable for that, so that we can put an end to this. Okay, let's see what's in the past. Then we have Dominion. This is Mars and Aries. This could be considered the power that Trump had previously, or this could be the Dominion that Jack Smith has. So it could go either way, because it is the past. But let's see what else comes up. We have the in the sky, we have the Princess of Wands. These are messages. So there are messages, information coming out, maybe that we, for some reason, are not aware of yet. Or that could be canon. because he is, and I don't know what sign she is, because she is the judge in charge of this portion of the case, or the, again, I'm, excuse my inability to do legal stuff here. But she is considered that she will recuse herself, or if she doesn't recuse herself, that the the judge in charge of her is going to or the circuit court in charge of her would take steps to take her out, because because there's a because of her previous rulings on Trump. They did come back on her anyway. The immediate future, we have the Eight of Cups. Interestingly enough, in this deck, it's indolence. Of course, we don't really expect, or I don't really, so I shouldn't say we. I mean, I don't know what you expect, but I don't expect Trump to be any different than he usually is. Just smug and indolent. Indolence is laziness, though. So there's a laziness here as well. And the eight of cups, in point of fact, actually it says Saturn and Pisces here, which is interesting because that's where Saturn is right now. And by the end of the week, Saturn will be stationing retrograde. So it's almost standing still in the sky while all this is happening, Saturn and Pisces. But the first time I think, did reading on Trump, the Eight of Cups was the card that came up, which is, turning your back on something you've put a lot of energy into. I don't see him necessarily turning his back on things here. But I do see a certain amount of, it's almost like he doesn't believe that this is actually happening. So it's almost like he doesn't have to put effort because he's depending on what's always worked in the past, perhaps, just saying it is so, and then people believing it is so. How it's seen from the outside, we have oppression here, oppression. Somebody is being oppressed. It's also, this card is also about so many burdens, just so much stuff, maybe whittled down to two things here. Let's see the domestic situation. We have the Eight of Pentacles, which is prudence, which I actually like here. Of course, we're concerned that there could be some sort of armed something or other, right? Hopes and fears, bravery, valor. So that's a hope for both parties, probably. And let's see the outcome. The Ace of Discs. A new beginning, a new opportunity. Something that he says may, or something that happens may give us a new opportunity to start something new, something else. But let's see if I can get a major arcana on this. Cruelty. Let's see what this is. This is to further elucidate that Ace of Discs. The Knight of Cups, messages, and the Prince of Cups. There's going to be all kinds of, people jabbering that this is Biden's doing, blah, blah, blah. Of course, it's not because Trump did anything illegal, is it? And anyway, it just feels like the same old stuff. And I do not see, I don't see violence here, at least not on Tuesday. It's very possible that if there's anything like that, they're on top of it. Let's see what's underneath. Wheel of Fortune, change in fortune, completion, and sorrow. So, I mean, I know I mean, maybe you have to hear it again, but I know I've been seeing it and a lot of readers have been saying that he's done, and it really started with the New York case, not because I guess it's all serious when you break the law, but the E. Jean Carroll thing really was almost in a way more important, I think, because of the whole, grab 'em by the P word, right? All that stuff, all the misogyny, all the cruelty, the Women's March, all of that sort of. The E. Jean Carroll situation was a bit of I wouldn't say a period at the end of that sentence, but an exclamation point and maybe a semicolon, right? Something like that, like, oh, and then, right? So there's that. So I think it's going to be very similar to what happened in New York, where there was all this fuss, but in the end, nothing actually happened because New York was prepared for it. And you just don't get away with that stuff in New York. You just don't. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't going to be violence in other places. These good old boys, or whatever you want to call them, or good bad boys, or bad old boys, or, they are not going to go down. They're not going to go down easy for sure. There's still plenty of militias and the like. But with all this seditious conspiracy floating around, in the courts now for these people who obviously were treasonous and the like, maybe there's they're stepping back from it. I think Trump is a losing game here. They may eventually want to back somebody like DeSantis later, but I don't see that being successful. I feel like with Pluto in Aquarius, when Pluto went into Aquarius, there seemed to be a lot of like moving forward on stuff, the power of the people were being recognized. Now it's moved back into Capricorn, and I think that there's things that we still have to deal with Capricorn. We still have to deal with structures of government that are not helpful. And I think we need to look at what needs to be funded and all those things so that we don't just have these like areas of government that are just functionary but not functional. And then we say, well, it doesn't function for us. It doesn't work. A lot of the reason it doesn't work is because most of the money goes to, is dark money or the like. So as to whether there's going to be violence on Tuesday, I do not see it in my cards. So if that gives you any kind of peace of mind, that's good. That's good. I think I'm going to do a couple more readings, but I'm going to keep them separate. So I hope you enjoyed this. Like and subscribe if you would. Check out my astrology. I do weekly astrology of the week ahead. I just put out, let's see, the week of the 11th to the 17th. And for those of you who are my Patreon members, I've also put out the week of the 18th to the 24th, but you can only see that on Patreon. You'll be able to see that next week on YouTube. And I am, for my Kabbalah students, we're starting the second part of the Kabbalah classes on the 19th, Monday the 19th, for 6 consecutive Mondays, although we may be taking July 3rd off as a holiday, and we'll just elongate it on the back end of the class. So until then, or until I see you again, have a wonderful day. Namaste.